Welcome everybody to the Ray Law International channel. My name is Anthony Ray and I am happy to be with you guys today. Today is our time we set aside, probably about 30 minutes or so, to talk about various immigration matters and questions. Feel free, this is your time to ask us questions for us to just really connect. So today I do have a topic we'll talk about in just a moment, which I'll be sharing and introducing to you guys. But first, let me introduce who we are. My name is Anthony Ray. I'm one of the immigration attorneys here at Ray Law International. We represent companies both nationally and internationally, and individuals as well, nationally and internationally, on U.S. immigration matters. I've been practicing for over 20 years, and we work with large corporations, multi-billion-dollar corporations, as all the way down to startups and people just starting their business. So as you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We love to work with CEOs and C-suite individuals and HR managers to help them navigate this complicated and chaotic immigration process. Feel free to check us out on our YouTube video, our YouTube channel, excuse me. We have over 300 videos, and we usually put out a video each month in addition to our live stream, mainly to educate the public and those who are involved in the immigration process so that they really have a clear idea of what is going on in their immigration case. Also, there are changes in immigration, which we update our clients with. So if you want to get on our newsletter email list, feel free to reach out to us. There'll be information here on the screen of ways that you can reach out to us and find out and connect. Get on the email list for our newsletter for immigration updates, as well as you can join and just connect with us directly, with me directly here on our live stream. All right, so as we get started, today, the topic I chose is not what we have to talk about all day today. Feel free to ask questions. Put your questions in the chat, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, doesn't matter. Go ahead and put your questions in here in the chat. This time is to answer your questions. But I do have a very interesting topic today that I think is very useful and informative. This article is from the Inside Higher Ed, and the title of it is Student Visa Denials Threaten U.S. Competitiveness, and this is by Samba Dieng. I apologize if I mispronounced that name incorrectly, but the article is well written, and I'm going to share the location here. Let's see if we have a better view of that. So this is the article which we're going to go over, and I want to talk about. Feel free, if you have questions about student visas or student visa denials, reach out to us, let us know, and we can address those as we go through. Again, if you have questions, put those in the comment section, and we'd be more than happy to answer those. Okay, so regarding this article, it's very good. I highly recommend that you go to the site and check it out. But there's a couple things that we wanted to highlight regarding this. One, the article really focuses on the visa denials from the continent of Africa or the African countries. For a 5-year period of time, there's been from 2018 to 2022, there's been a 52% visa denial rate from students from Africa. Now, on the surface, you're saying, well, they just didn't qualify. But you have to understand the F1 or student visa application process. For these individuals, even to get an interview or to go through to apply for a visa in Africa at a U.S. embassy or consulate, they first have to go through a process and get accepted to the university. They then have to get what's called an I-20. It's the eligibility form for students who want to study here in the U.S. And based off of that I-20, once it meets the requirements of that university, then they are given the I-20 and then they are eligible to make a visa application at the U.S. Embassy. So even before they get to the U.S. Embassy or consulate for their visa interview, they have sort of been vetted. They've been vetted that they qualify to study at the university. They've been vetted that they have the financial means to pay for their education. So these are not people who have not been vetted, have not been screened. Also, more importantly, to issue the I-20, that is handled directly by the Department of State through the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. So not only the universities have screened and vetted these individuals, but also immigration has already reviewed and vetted them to make sure they qualify for the issuance of the I-20. So in spite of all that vetting, in spite of all that screening, when these students, 52% of them in this 5-year period, they got more than half of them were denied. And that's incredible. It shouldn't be that way. A lot of people have speculated that perhaps it's just discriminatory towards individuals in Africa. The State Department does not put out the reasons for the denials that would provide the clarity and transparency that's needed for us to really analyze why are these visa applications being denied after they've been screened by ICE, after they've been screened and approved by their universities, and they have the proper documentation in order to move forward. So this article does not address that. It just highlights the huge problem that students from African countries are facing. Obviously, this is not all, less than 50% still get in, but still, that's a huge number of students who are unable to come. Now, this article touches on why that's a problem. The level of international students has been decreasing year after year. Part of it is because of the policy we'll talk about today, this visa denial, which is probably unreasonable. But more so, it could also be that it's because of the pandemic. The government, for example, because of pandemic, a lot of people have not traveled or studied abroad. Another issue may be cost. Obviously, for foreign students coming to the United States, the cost of getting or studying here in the U.S. is, if not twice, close to twice as much as it is for regular students. Additionally, international tensions may be a cause for the reduction in students over the years. But for our conversation, when we know that students want to come, they've already been vetted, they've been screened, and they are ready to come and study in their new program, whether that's undergraduate or graduate, they're getting denied. This is more of an immigration policy. And the article really points us towards, what can be done? How do we address this issue? And part of this issue can be addressed, the article suggests, in two main ways. One is through federal policy advocacy, meaning, contact your federal politician in the House of Representatives or the Senate, and universities can, directly go to them, advocate. Now, many groups do this. The American Immigration Lawyers Association does this. There's a day to advocate, and encourage the politicians to pass legislation that is favorable. Also, what the article is suggesting is that universities and other individuals in the higher education, sphere can reach out to their politicians and highlight the problem that is being faced from students coming from African countries and others as well. It's not just Africa. It just happens that students from Africa has the highest denial rate over all the other regions. Okay, it's not that it doesn't happen in others, it just happens that it's more than 50% from those coming from Africa, and there's a decline. So it's not that more people are even applying for their student visa and more are getting denied. It's simply there's a reduction in that and reduction in the number of applicants, meaning there are fewer students coming to study at American universities, and the government abroad is denying 50% or more of them. Now, the other process or something that the article suggests is that this probably advocacy should also be at the state level, whether that's with the governors or local politicians, so that they can go and take the case or argue the case in front of the uh, the federal government for them to pass policy. One of the frustrations, and maybe people have opinions, please go ahead, write your questions and opinions in the chat about this or any other questions that you may have. But one of the main things they're suggesting is that governors and local state politicians can go and advocate for an increase in international students. The reason for this is it really impacts the U.S. competitiveness. And the less students that come, all that talent, all that, the education, the creativity, all that since, can go to other countries. Other countries such as, Europe, Canada, Australia, those are really viable options for people to go and get their education when the U.S. arbitrarily, it appears, turns them away. So the state level, federal level is what the article suggests. I would go a step further. This is not in the article. I know it's geared towards higher education and for universities and colleges to take action. But I think really these universities need to collaborate with businesses and Chamber of Commerce's as well. I think once you get the businesses together, plus the power of the education universities, I think at that point, you'll start to get some of the politicians in Congress to pay attention and take action. While a lot of people feel, well, aren't these people just taking our jobs? No, they're not. When you look at the number of foreign students, even with the 50% reduction from African students, the majority in many classes, especially in the STEM field, engineering, science, math, there are majority foreign nationals anyways. So really, if your argument is, they're taking our jobs, you need to encourage your children to get into those fields. Obviously, the more U.S. citizens we have in those fields, the less need. But unfortunately, there's not enough people going into those fields who are U.S. citizen green card holders. A lot of the positions in the STEM fields are being filled in many classes in many universities throughout the U.S. by foreign nationals. So a way to combat this is not to complain, but to encourage, your neighbors, your kids to go into the STEM field and to get their degrees in math, science, technology, or engineering. That's a better way to combat instead of, just complaining on the internet. So this is really the main article I want to touch on, how this impacts immigration. Obviously, the students that come, unfortunately right now, F1 students, they do have what's called OPT or occupational practical training once they graduate. Most students, they get 1 year. Now, if they're in a STEM field, they get a total of 3 years. So they get a lot more time. The downside to what is going on right now is there is no step beyond OPT in reality. There is the H-1B, but that's a lottery system. And the H-1B is not the real solution to this big problem. Most have advocated that all foreign national students who complete their degree should get work authorization. They should automatically get an H-1B for whatever period of time Congress decides. This proposal has been made multiple times to Congress. Unfortunately, as we all know, both on the legal immigration side and the illegal immigration side, Congress has not made any decision. They're letting the problem continue to grow. And ultimately, as we see in many aspects, especially on the illegal side, when there's inaction by Congress, the problem continues to snowball and continues to turn. Right now, people are not going to stop coming to the U.S. just because we make it more difficult, you know, or put up additional barriers. The better way to do that is to figure out how best to utilize the resources the U.S. needs and how to make immigration a part of that. Let's focus on the positive solutions of how we can move forward with immigration for our students. So I am one of those advocates who are in agreement that for students graduating from universities, they've paid all this money, they spend all this time, they should definitely automatically not just get OPT, but get a work visa. There are restrictions, there are guidelines that and requirements for the H-1B that I'll make sure that these people are, not just taking uh, jobs from U.S. citizens or, or just kind of making a disadvantage for other people. Obviously, as you may or may not know, filing for H-1B can be extremely costly. Many employers pay several thousands of dollars just to petition for H-1B workers, but that also reemphasizes the need for these workers, that our current job market doesn't produce enough STEM employees or workers in order to fill the need of U.S. workers. Now, we're only talking about F1 students who either graduate from a university and have a degree. There are many other areas where we are being challenged from an immigration standpoint. We're just touching base here on, whether you agree with this article. Let me know. Any questions in the chat? This is your time. Feel free to post your questions. It may be on this topic, F1 visas, OPT, CPT, or H-1Bs, or it may be on other topics. Feel free to let us know about that. But this is a really great article. I really highly suggest that you take a look at it. Are there any questions out there? If not, I have a few more things I can chat about, but I really want this time to be about you and whatever questions you guys have. So if anyone watching out there, if you have a question, feel free, go ahead and type it in the chat. Would love to answer those questions. This is a time for you. One of the highlights that we have as immigration attorneys is, while we wait for questions, is really reaching out and helping those in need. All too often we find people that feel, you know what, immigration is just filling out forms, I can do this myself. And all too often we find that, cases are denied, their cases are delayed, and with the processing time delays that we see with immigration, there is so much delay that people don't have to go through. And when we have delays, whether that's employment-based, where you're losing on revenue by not having that employee work in the proper visa category, or whether it's family-based, where you're separated from a loved one, not having an attorney guide you through or navigate the chaotic immigration system, it's just really costly on an emotional toll. It's not always about money. It's more so about, your dreams, your family, or from the employment-based side, what your dreams and goals are. Every week, pretty much every day, we're meeting with people who have dreams to start their business, grow their business, and really achieve that American dream, which is still available, uh, and more so than other, parts of the world at this time. So, you know, we having an immigration attorney really helps you navigate that. And what we like to do, for those, handling, or those companies that handle, a lot of immigration cases, we like you to open up the door and, you know, chat with us, find out who we are, see, how we can help. You don't have to stop using your current immigration law firm, but see if you're getting the best service, the best service. Several of our clients use multiple immigration law firms. We are minority owned, so that may be a benefit for some. But often what we find, or our clients find out, is that the response time is going to be a lot quicker. That's one of the main challenges that we see or hear from clients are the reason that we get is, not getting responses. We've had one, I think was recently, it was several months. It was ridiculous. The company had asked a green card matter for the company, and the law firm that was handling their case just didn't respond. And it had been several months. Now, for us at Ray Law International, this is totally unthinkable, but this is and appears to be very common. Obviously, if someone misses an email and it's 1 week or something, that's understandable. But several months, that's sort of ignoring a very good and client. So if communication with your attorney is lacking, feel free to reach out to us. We love to just set up a quick meeting, 30 minutes, so that we can connect. And then if there's some synergies or some interest from there, we can definitely go ahead and take that next step. The information is on the screen. Feel free to call right now. Our assistant, our receptionist, would be more than happy to schedule a time for you. Or if you prefer, send us an email. Again, you can find out more about us by preferably talking to us, but also by just connecting. So another problem that we find is, or hear from clients that they struggle with their law firm, is basically providing really good solutions. Some law firms, the responses they get really just say, "Oh, there's something you can do. Now you got to go out and find somebody else." So we really come along, look for real solutions that work for the client, and really explain the immigration law as it is today. So as I'm talking, our topic today was talking about student visa denials threatening U.S. competitiveness. Check out this article. It's on the Inside Higher Ed website. Really great article. It goes into detail, talks about a couple ways that you can advocate and make change in our immigration system, which is desperately needed. But also importantly, I added on that basically businesses and Chamber of Commerce need to get involved. I think the problem needs to be solved, both the corporate side here for students going into employment, and then even the illegal side. We have to come together in larger numbers as a combined U.S. to solve the problem. It's not going to go away. We can't deport 11 million plus people. We can't continue to deny visas at 50% more in Africa. We're really sort of, shooting ourselves in the foot and making it a disadvantage for us. So we really need to come together and make a change so that we all win and we all benefit. All right. Any questions from our audience out there? All right. Let's see. Anything else? So just to rehash, check out the article. You can help lobby, advocate, and make sure that changes do happen. If you just sit back and expect others to do it, nothing's going to change. We all have to work together and overcome the challenges. So for today, that's the topic. Look forward to another video coming out in June. We do have a special video coming out. Hopefully it'll come out in January, where with the Olympics coming up, we have something special, a special interview regarding O visas and EB-1A. So I would look forward to hearing and talking to you there. If there are no other questions, I want to thank you guys for joining us on this live stream. We look forward to connecting next month. Look forward, that should be at the end of the month for June. We'll put that out there, and then we'll also get a newsletter out to everybody so that you guys stay informed of what's happening at Ray Law International. Feel free to connect. Again, thank you everyone for joining us today. We look forward to touching base with you. If you have questions about this topic or any other immigration topics, feel free to email us and reach out for us. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time. Until next time, stay informed, stay educated, and stay on the right immigration path. Thank you. Bye for now.